Hello and welcome to the in-depth series section of Drishti IAS. I am Aisha Singh, and in today's video we will be discussing about the Indian Stamp Bill 2023 as the interim budget is on its way. So there are talks about the bills which will be coming in future and which will be taking shape in the form of an act. So let us first understand the timeline. First we'll be looking at the news, then what is stamp duty, a term which we keep on hearing in our day-to-day life, then Indian Stamp Bill 2023, what are the provisions of this draft bill, then Indian Stamp Act 1899, whom the Indian Stamp Bill 2023 will replace, and in the end a prelims MCQ. Topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 2, that is Acts and Bills Polity. So let's begin. The news talks about why Centre plans to replace the Indian Stamp Act of 1899. So earlier the act which used to deal with the stamps was the Indian Stamp Act of 1899, and in its place, if the bill in future will be passed, then will come the Indian Stamp Bill 2023. As this act has become old and redundant, it needs modification and updation, and the provisions needs to be changed. So what is happening is the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance has prepared a draft Indian Stamp Bill 2023. It is a draft. It is a draft bill. There's a difference between bill and act. A bill is something which is presented in the Lok Sabha, then passed, then goes to the Rajya Sabha, then passed, or it can pass in any of the house. But it becomes an act only when the President of India gives his or her assent to the bill. So act is the final stage, while bill is a process. So this is a draft bill. This has not become an act till now. So this Indian Stamp Bill 2023 will repeal the already existing Indian Stamp Act of 1899 for the stamp duty regime in the country. So the stamp duty regime in the country, it will talk about it overall. It will set the guidelines and how it will work in the country. So let us first understand about what is a stamp duty. So this term, I am sure that almost all of you must have heard in your day-to-day life from your father, grandfather, mothers, or whenever you go outside and talk about the things like transactions, land transactions, registry, you must have heard about the term stamp duty. There's something called stamp duty which a person has to pay if any kind of transaction or any kind of registry is happening. So what is this stamp duty? So it is a type of a government tax. Government tax, it means that whenever we do any kind of transaction or we do any kind of registry, so there is a certain tax which we need to pay to the government. So stamp duty is a government tax. So, and it is levied to register documents, like for example an agreement or transaction paper between two or more parties with the registrar. Like for example stamp duty, like for example if someone is buying a land, so you're buying a piece of land, and that piece of land, in that piece of land there will be a party who will be selling the land, and there will be a party who will be buying the land. Now how will they do it? They will go to the registrar office to register the land. So when they will register the land, there is a certain kind of papers that you need to sign. So and in that process there is a tax which a person has to pay, and that is the stamp duty. So stamp duty is a government tax or is a type of tax which the person pays to the government, and the amount specified is fixed. So it is not that stamp duty keeps on changing. It depends on the amount for which the registry or the piece of land is, and the amount which is written on the papers. A percentage of that amount is what stamp duty is. So it is almost fixed in each case, and stamp duty is levied on bills of exchange, checks, promissory notes, bills of lading, letters of credit, policies of insurance, transfer of shares, debentures, proxies and receipts. So etc. In all these type of transactions, stamp duty is levied. And stamp duty is considered to be a valid evidence in a court of law. So if in a court of law, in judiciary, if the evidence is a stamp duty, then it will be considered a valid evidence. And this is also one of the reasons that the validity is very high of the stamp duty, and stamp duty is official in nature as it has the government backing. Then stamp duty is levied by the center, but it is collected by the state. Now this is one of the most important point that you people need to keep in mind. In stamp duty, there are two parties which are associated. That is, so the stamp duty is levied by the center. That it is the center who is applying or who is asking for this tax. But the collecting authority of this tax is state. So ultimately it goes to the center, but the collecting authority is state. So it is levied by the center, but it is appropriated by the concerned state. Like for example, center levies the stamp duty, but in every state of India, it is the state government which collects that stamp duty. Then under Article 268 of the Constitution, so it is levied by center but appropriated by the state. This happens under Article 268 of the Indian Constitution. So this is about stamp duty. I hope things are clear. First of all, it is a type of a government tax levied by the center, appropriated by the state, given in Article 268 of the Constitution. It is a valid evidence in a court of law, and on what things it is made. Then now let's talk about the Indian Stamp Bill for the year 2023. So that is, according to the Ministry of Finance, several provisions of the Indian Stamp Act 1899 have now become redundant or inoperative. So the Indian Stamp Act, which is as of now going on, was made in the year 1899. Now there are hundreds of years which has passed by. So the colonial law has now become outdated, has now become redundant, and has now become inoperative. It needs modernization, it needs updation, and updation as required by the present working of the government, or what the people of India requires, or what the Indian democracy requires. So it needs to be updated with regard to the changing nature of our country. Then it also lacks provisions for digital e-stamping and a lack of uniform legislation for all Indian states regarding stamp duties. So the 1899 law also does not have the criteria of digital transactions. And as of now, if we will see, and especially after coming of the Digital India campaign, and there are so many campaigns which are going on digitally, and the present Prime Minister of India also focuses on the moving towards the digital scenario, and we are also focusing towards so much towards the e-governance system, that the electronic availability of the services of stamp duties has to be online. So the digital e-stamping or the digital aspect needs to be updated with regard to the Indian Stamp Act, so that it will become, or it will also become very easy, convenient and efficient for the people also who find it difficult to visit the registrar office, or especially for the people like senior citizens who are above the age of 60 or who are above the age of 75. It becomes very difficult for them to physically go and visit the registrar offices, and especially for the people who are differently abled. So they will also find it very helpful for them if the things will be digital. Then the new legislation to reflect the present realities and objectives. With the changing time, the nature of things also changes. So with time, the act also needs to be updated with regard to the present day realities and with regard to the present day demands of the country. So these are few of the provisions of the Indian Stamp Bill 2023. Now few of the provisions of the draft bill. So that is provisions for digital e-stamping. As I just discussed that the digital aspect needs to come into the picture. So the bill has the digital aspect and it will introduce the new digital era into the Stamp Act. So the section 2 clause 18 talks about electronically generated impression denoting the payment of stamp duty by electronic means or otherwise. So the payment of stamp duty, if the bill becomes the act, can be done through the electronic means also. Then provisions for digital signatures. So if payment can be made digitally and the signatures can be uploaded digitally, then the physical appearance and the physical one-to-one meeting of the people will also lower down in numbers, and most importantly every data will be collected. There will be a backing of everything, and most importantly the tracking of the papers or the tracking of the transactions that is being done will also be done at a faster pace. It will save a lot of time, it will save a lot of energy for the people, and it will also move things digitally. Then it also proposes to raise penalties, that if things are not followed properly by anyone, then penalties will also be applied. Like for example, there will be an increase in the maximum penalty amount from rupees 5,000 to rupees 25,000. So till now the maximum penalty is rupees 5,000, that if the rules are not followed. So from 5,000 it will increase to 25,000, and imposition of rupees 1,000 per day for repeated offences. So if any kind of offence which is getting repeated day after day, then per day 1,000 rupees will be charged. Now about the Indian Stamp Act of the year 1899. So the Indian Stamp Act is a fiscal or money related statute. So it is a money related statute, as the stamp duty is about money, it is about tax, and tax is about money, it is about finance. So it was a law relating to tax levied in the form of stamps on instruments recording transactions. So whenever transactions is taking place between two or more parties, then the stamp duty comes into the picture, and so the Indian Stamp Act is a law with regard to the stamp duties. Stamp, if we talk about, then according to the Indian Stamp Act of 1899, stamp is any mark, seal or endorsement. Mark, seal or endorsement. I think you people must have seen that whenever a registry is done, so there is a certain kind of seal which the registrar put onto the papers. So that seal makes it official. That seal gives it a government backing. That seal makes it a legal document. So stamp is any kind of mark, seal or endorsement by any agency or person duly authorized by the state government. As I just told you that the stamp duty is levied by the center but is appropriated or is collected by the state. So stamp which is put on the papers by the registrar is under the state government. Then section 3 of the 1899 Act, it talks about certain instruments or documents shall be chargeable with the amount indicated in schedule 1 of the Act. Chargeable means, what is this line saying? Section 3 of the 1899 Act is talking about certain instruments or documents, that is stamp duties, that is the documents which comes under stamp duties, shall be chargeable with the amount indicated in section 1 of the Act. It means that whatever amount will be charged under stamp duty, that is duly given on the papers. Then in the end, a prelims MCQ, and you people need to tell me the answer in the comment section. It is asking, consider the following statements, and you have to talk about the correct statement, and the two statements are there. First, stamp duty is levied by the state government but collected by the central government. Second, stamp duty provision are given under the article 268 of the Indian Constitution. So these are the two statements and the codes are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. So give me the answer in the comment section, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.